Hello, world. My name is Marquita. I'm from New Jersey. On camera, we have my sister Alexis, and she'll be helping me to present my offline as it happens.
A young male meets a young woman at a business social the night before and sparks fly. At the end of the social, she slips him a note with her name and number with an address on it that says, "Let's meet at 8 p.m. tomorrow." Cut to scene 2. We see the young man getting dressed in formal attire. The audience can tell he hasn't been on a date in a while. He steps outside of his house in his all-tan three-piece suit and begins walking to his car. Scene 3. He gets into his car and starts making a left out of the driveway. Phones with an address and realizes he has no clue on where he's going. Every street he turns on leads him into a crazy situation. One street leads him into a demonstration against technology by the older generation. We hear a part of the speech. Ever since my granddaughter get that new cell thingy, I can't get her to do anything without it. We've got to stop this. As the crowd cheers,
No more!
Clearly, this has been talked about before the event by national media as camera crew and media from across the world was present. At the driving embarrassingly through the demonstration, he turns down one street and does not see the performing construction sign and ends up driving into black tar that had been placed for the roads overnight to dry. If that's not enough, he hits a pothole and gets a flat tire.
Cuckoo.
The man then pulls over to a sidewalk on the street to proceed out of his car to fix the tire. He glances at his watch as he steps onto the sidewalk. He still has 20 minutes to get to the woman of his dreams. As he tries to take a step, he notices he can't really move. He looks up from his watch to see that he has stepped in wet cement.
Mm.
He stumbles out of the cement back on a tar-covered street with the wind blowing heavily, which makes matters worse. Now filled with wet cement and covered in black tar, he sees a crowd of people walking at the opposite end of the block. He smiles slightly and makes his way towards the area. When he finally reaches the casually dressed crowd, he asks if anyone knows the address. They stare at him awkwardly for a moment, seeing his clothing and the cement and tar, and point him in the right direction. He walks down the street in the direction the group stated to the location, getting stares and whispers from people passing by.
Get a hold of this guy.
When he finally reaches the location, he realizes he knows the area, and a tear falls down his eye as he notices his house in the near distance. He should have just made a right out of the driveway instead of a left, and it would have taken him 5 minutes to reach the place. As he stands there with his back towards the location, a woman comes out. "John, is that you?" she says awkwardly. John turns to look at her slowly.
Karen, hey.
Karen walks closer and cuts him off. "What happened to you?"
I got lost.
She looks confused for a moment and says, "I thought you told me you lived on Town Avenue."
I do.
Karen looks in the direction of the street, just as John did before.
I didn't realize they changed the name of the streets recently.
He continues. Karen stares at him blankly for a moment. "So you don't have GPS?"
No.
he says, looking at the ground. "What about a phone?" "I did leave my phone number with you, right?" she says, noticing a piece of paper crumbled in John's hand.
Yeah, you did.
Replies, feeling more awkward. Just as Karen was about to say something, she gets a call on her N900.
Bring.
"Excuse me for a second," she says as she steps a few feet away. Whispers can be heard from her conversation. "I know. Totally weird." She finishes up the conversation and walks back over to John. "Sorry about that," she begins. "Hey, listen, something's come up. Can we do this another time?" John looks back up at her to meet her gaze. He doesn't really have a choice but to agree.
Sure, maybe.
He trying to sound cheerful. No sooner did he finish his statement, a car pulls up in front of the location, and Karen swiftly walks to the car. "Wait!" she yells as she closes the door and the car pulls away. John stands there in shock for a brief moment and begins to walk home. As he does it, it starts to rain. John stops and yells,
Why?
favorite animation at the end, you see the GPS feature as well as the internet open to the latest news with a demonstration as a headline and switching tasks to what not to do on the first date article. We also see a would-be scenario text conversation between Karen and John if he had an N900. And do it, give me a call, and then switch into the phone mode and dialing Karen. This highlights GPS ability and the ability to multitask on the N900.
Woohoo! And that is My Offline as It Happens, written by Marquita, presented by Alexis from New Jersey. Thanks, guys.